Today we'll be going through every legend and their best stance. Alright, let's get straight into it. So first we have Bodvar. Bodvar's best stance is just attack stance. If you really wanted, you could do speed stance just to bump it up to 6. But attack stance just for the minus dex is just better that way. Then we have Cassidy. Dex stance is pretty crazy right now, but generally the safest stance would be defense stance. That's the best one. Orion. So Orion's depends on a lot of things. So you could go attack stance to kill early. That one's probably the best. But you could also go defense stance, but then you go down a dex, and you kind of want to stay at 6 for spear to get side air and light. But ultimately, I guess if you're focusing only on the lance, you could do this one instead. Lord Vrax. The best stance for Lord Vrax is strength, unless you know some 9 dex lance cheese. Because there is some. But I probably wouldn't use it. Nash, I would go, I believe it's it's defense stance. Get the minus dex. You're so low on dex on spear that at this point you don't care about dex too much. You could go dex stance, but that's just for comfortability on like downlight Sarah on hammer. So kind of depends on how comfortable you are hitting that 2 combo, because sometimes the extra 2 dex will make it a little easier. Queen Knight, the best stance will forever be dex stance, just because I love dex stance. You're playing Queen Knight, play 2 speed. But if you're cringe, you would pick this one. But we don't pick this stance. Hattori. I like speed stance, but you could skip out on it and go attack stance. It ultimately depends on how much you like side air and light. I think having the extra 2 speed stats help a lot, but a lot of people do prefer the extra defense. So yeah. And then Roland speed stance, just want the faster speed. You want to at least hit 5. That makes it a lot better. Same with Scarlet. Granted, dex defense stance low-key underrated. Thatch, I believe it used to be dex stance, but I think they got rid of I think they made some of the other true combos dex universal, and if that is true, you would want to go attack stance or defense stance. Probably defense stance, but attack stance is also minus dex, so I mean, you know what I'm saying. Ada, you want defense stance. It's just the best stance. Sentinel, you can go up a dex. Katars, you get a couple things for having 5 dex. It's like your Nair combos, I believe you get from dex, but it's no longer side light and light or side light down light. So you don't need dex nearly as much. I would probably still do this just because I think it's the Katars feel a lot better. But you could do attack stance if you really wanted. Lucien, let's be real here. Speed stance is fun. So I like speed stance, that's what I use, but otherwise I just go strength stance. Defense stance is some crazy stats, but then you're also dropping below 5 dex, which is fine. Personal preference. Teros, you want the minus dex, you want speed stance. Some people for Stomp Sayer on hammer do like dex stance. It makes it a little easier to input. Bryn, you want to do you can get away with dex stance on Brim because then you get the 6 dex. I personally would do strength stance. I also don't overly abuse side air and light, but that's just a personal preference. Asuri, you want attack stance, get the early kills. Barraza, speed. You could go dex stance, but you want 5 speed. Ember, defense stance is just the best stance. This one's really fun though. Azoth, defense. Koji, I love the speed stance, but it's just dex stance. I meant not dex, you go defense stance. Olgrim, oh, you want minus dex, which would be speed stance. I do know some people like the 4 dex. I think it might make some things unjumpable. I'm not certain on this. I don't play enough Lance. I don't think it would affect the axe at all. Diana, you want speed stance, just go to the minus dex. Jhala, you want the defense stance, which is also minus dex, luckily. Chorus speed, you just want to be fast enough. Wushang, just attack stance. I believe speed stance is also solid, but you should just do attack stance because you don't lose anything. Val, you can either go attack stance or defense stance. Those are the two main ones in contention. I think strength stance helps a little bit more. You do kind of lose 2 stat points in order to do it, but I think it helps a little more than the defense stance. Getting those early kills help a lot. Ragnar, I think he's speed, right? No, it's defense. You want defense stance. Yeah, you just want minus dex here. Cross, speed. Mirage, this one's iffy. I like attack stance because 8 strength, scythe, and spear helps with killing a lot. You don't overly worry too much about dealing, like, building up damage and stuff, so you don't overly need Sarah and late. But you could do that and then go defense stance. But this character more so struggles to kill, so I would prefer the strength stance. You're losing 2 strength stats to do defense, basically. Nyx is attack stance. You could do speed stance, though. I go back and forth between these, but Scythe and Blasters struggle. Well, not really Blasters, but you want your Blaster moves to kill, or you can struggle to kill because of your low attack. Mordex, you just want attack stance. Attack stance is crazy. Yumiko, attack stance. Artemis, speed stance. A lot of people like defense, but I'm not a fan. Speed stance, please. It's literally unholy broken. Caspian, I think speed stance is probably the best one now. It used to be like strength or defense, but honestly, all these are really good except for Dex, which is the good one not to have. I would do speed stance though. Sidra is defense. Zol, you can go defense, but in all honesty, you want speed, which is just minus attack. That's perfectly fine. You won't really notice that 2 attack difference. Kaya is attack stance. Both feels better once it's at 5 dex, but you can, just being able to kill earlier matters more. Isaiah is, I use speed stance, but attack stance is also very viable. Jiro, a lot of people like the defense stance. I think the stance is terrible. You lose a whole attack stat, which if you go this stance, right, you gain you go up to 6 attack. If you go down to this, you're down to 4. So you basically lose 2 attack points to gain 1 defense. I'd rather just go this, be a glass cannon, and when you have sword, you have consistent killing, so being able to kill consistently earlier kind of offsets your glass cannonness. Sakura, they got rid of some of her OP dex combos, but she still is really good with dex stance. I like attack stance now. Personal preference, I haven't labbed too much of what they got rid of on the dex stance, but attack stance just works best for both weapons. Zerial, you just want speed stance, you want to get faster. Rayman is, oh, I thought it was defense. No, it's speed. Speed. This is actually beautiful stat line. Dusk, you want attack stance. This puts you at 6 dex, so you're above the Sarah and late range. You don't really need much more dex than that. Some people go defense, but that stance is lame. Fate, you want speed stance. All of her stances are good except for dexterity, which is what you want. You could go defense stance. You could also go attack stance, but speed stance is the best. You could go base stance, but why go base stance? You should go speed instead. Thor, you want minus dex, yes. Speed. Petra, speed. Vector attack. Yeah, vector attack. Volkov's is weird. So you have to either choose between strength stance and speed stance. I think strength stance matters the most. However, speed stance allows you to be a little more aggressive off stage, and you just have to rely on Sigs to kill, because otherwise you're really not killing. Onyx, you want speed stance. This stance is heavenly. Jaeyun, strength stance. Mako, speed stance. You could go defense stance if you prefer. Keep the 4 dex. This is still an amazing stance, but I think speed's just the best stance. Magyar, you just want strength stance, or you go defense stance if you're cool. But yeah, that puts you at 3 speeds, so I really don't recommend that. It feels terrible. Reno, you want Honeybean? Sorry. Strength stance, just to be able to wrap up those kills. Moonin is speed stance, right? Yeah, get the 8 speed. This is such a beautiful stat line for bow. I think you... If I were to have this legend, I would pick these exact same stats. Like, this is perfect for this weapon comp. Arcadia, you want speed stance. I think you could, well, I think it's the best. You could go defense stance, which takes away dex, but let's be real here. Speed stance is more worth it. Speed is another form of defense, kind of, because being able to get back on the stage or avoid damage is more important than just, you know, being tankier. Ezio, you could go defense stance. That's just the best one. Speed stance is fun, though. Let's be real. Attack stance for Shell or Tezca, I guess, if you aren't aware. Thea. This one's a little weird. So I'm on the boat that she's OP with her signatures. And right now, with her signatures being literal light attacks, I think defense stance is the best stance. Simply because knockout power is not affected on signatures. So having a higher attack doesn't change that. It'll change how you kill with your light attacks, which is very important. So this is probably the best one. But I like this one just because I'm killing with side sig on boots, which already kills really late. I don't really care. I'm spamming that signature. I'm spamming end sig. So, yeah. And she's not getting nerfed for some reason. So she'll be tournament viable. Maybe I'll play her on tournament. But yeah, there's all the stat lines. Other than random. You just want base stance for random. Peace out, guys.